There's something crucial that men over 50 need to understand about their bodies, their vitality, and their confidence. For too long, the conversation has been dominated by pharmaceutical solutions, by the assumption that declining performance is simply an inevitable part of aging that requires medication to manage. But that narrative misses the fundamental truth about what's actually happening in the male body after 50, and more importantly, what can be done about it naturally. This is Dr. Rachel Ross, a board-certified urologist with 20 years of clinical experience working specifically with men's health. Over 2 decades of practice, a clear pattern has emerged. Men come in concerned about performance, about energy, about feeling like their bodies aren't responding the way they used to. And almost universally, they believe the problem is age itself. They've accepted that this is just what happens when you get older. But that's not accurate. Age is a factor, certainly, but it's not the cause. The actual cause is something far more specific and, critically, something that can be addressed without prescriptions, without side effects, without depending on pills for the rest of your life. The real issue is blood flow. More specifically, it's about what controls blood flow at the most fundamental level: nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a molecule produced naturally in the lining of blood vessels. It acts like a switch that tells blood vessels to relax and open up. When nitric oxide levels are adequate, blood vessels stay flexible and responsive. Blood flows freely to muscles, to organs, to all the tissues that need it. Everything works the way it's supposed to. But as men age past 50, several things happen that interfere with nitric oxide production and function. The endothelium, which is the inner lining of arteries where nitric oxide is produced, gets damaged over time by inflammation, poor diet, stress, lack of exercise, and simple wear and tear. As that lining becomes damaged, it produces less nitric oxide. Simultaneously, the body starts producing more free radicals that destroy nitric oxide before it can do its job. The result is that blood vessels become narrower, less flexible, less responsive. Blood flow decreases throughout the entire body. But the effects are particularly noticeable in areas that depend on strong, sustained blood flow for function. That includes muscles, brain function, energy levels, and certainly sexual performance. This is why so many men over 50 experience a constellation of symptoms that all seem unrelated but actually have the same root cause: reduced nitric oxide and compromised blood flow. They feel less energetic. Their stamina declines. Their mental clarity isn't what it was. Their confidence drops, and their intimate performance becomes inconsistent or disappointing. The pharmaceutical approach is to use medications that force blood vessels open artificially. These medications work to an extent, but they don't address the underlying problem. They're a temporary override of a broken system, not a repair of the system itself. And they come with side effects, costs, and the psychological burden of depending on a pill. The natural approach is different. It focuses on actually restoring the body's ability to produce and protect nitric oxide. It repairs the system rather than overriding it. And it does this through specific natural compounds found in certain foods and drinks that have been extensively studied and proven to work. These aren't folk remedies or wishful thinking. These are compounds with solid scientific research demonstrating their effects on nitric oxide, blood flow, and vascular health. When used correctly, they can produce dramatic improvements in circulation, stamina, energy, and performance. The foundation of this approach involves 5 specific drinks, each working through a different mechanism to support nitric oxide and blood flow. The first is beetroot juice. Beets are extraordinarily high in natural nitrates, which the body converts into nitric oxide. When someone drinks beetroot juice, nitrate levels in the blood rise significantly within 30 to 60 minutes. Those nitrates then convert to nitric oxide, causing blood vessels throughout the body to relax and open. Studies have shown that blood flow can increase by up to 200% within an hour of drinking beetroot juice. For men, this translates directly into improved performance. Blood reaches muscles more efficiently, improving stamina and strength. Blood reaches the brain more effectively, improving focus and clarity. And blood reaches the tissues necessary for sexual function, improving response and confidence. The recommended amount is 8 to 16 ounces of pure beetroot juice, consumed about 60 minutes before any activity where performance matters. That includes exercise, but it certainly includes intimate activity. The timing is critical because nitric oxide levels peak roughly an hour after consumption. The taste of beetroot juice can be challenging for some men. It's earthy and intense. Mixing it with a small amount of apple juice or ginger can make it more palatable, without significantly diluting its effectiveness. The key is to avoid beetroot juices with added sugar, as sugar can actually interfere with nitric oxide function. The second drink is pomegranate juice. While beetroot creates nitric oxide, pomegranate protects it. Nitric oxide is fragile. It breaks down quickly when exposed to free radicals and oxidative stress. Pomegranate juice is loaded with powerful antioxidants called polyphenols, particularly one called punicalagin, which actively protects nitric oxide from degradation. Think of it this way. Beetroot produces nitric oxide, but without protection, much of that nitric oxide gets destroyed before it can do its job. Pomegranate acts as a bodyguard, allowing the nitric oxide to survive long enough to have maximum effect. The recommended amount is 8 to 10 ounces, consumed about an hour before activity. But pomegranate also has cumulative benefits when consumed daily. Over weeks and months, it improves baseline vascular health, making blood vessels more responsive and efficient, even when not specifically preparing for performance. The third drink is watermelon juice. Watermelon contains high levels of an amino acid called citrulline. Once consumed, citrulline converts in the body to another amino acid called arginine, which then produces nitric oxide. This is actually a more efficient pathway than taking arginine supplements directly, because arginine is often broken down in the digestive system before it can be effective. Citrulline bypasses this problem. Fresh watermelon juice is the most effective form. The rind of watermelon actually contains more citrulline than the flesh, so including some rind in the juice increases potency. The recommended amount is 12 to 16 ounces, made from about 3 to 4 cups of fresh watermelon cubes, consumed 30 to 60 minutes before activity. Watermelon juice is naturally hydrating and slightly sweet, making it one of the more pleasant tasting options. It works synergistically with beetroot and pomegranate, creating multiple pathways for nitric oxide production and protection. The fourth drink is tart cherry juice. Unlike the first three, tart cherry isn't primarily about immediate performance. It's about repair and recovery. Tart cherry contains compounds called anthocyanins that reduce inflammation and support the repair of damaged blood vessel lining. It also contains natural melatonin, which supports deep, restorative sleep. The recommendation is a small glass, maybe 4 to 6 ounces, consumed a few hours before bed. Over time, this supports the ongoing repair of vascular damage that has accumulated over years. It helps restore the endothelium's ability to produce nitric oxide naturally. It's the long-term maintenance component of the protocol. The fifth drink is green tea, specifically prepared and combined with pomegranate. Green tea contains a compound called EGCG that protects the enzyme responsible for producing nitric oxide. It also contains theanine, which promotes calm, focused alertness without jitteriness. The recommendation is to brew 2 strong cups of green tea, let it cool, and mix it with about 8 ounces of pomegranate juice. This combination is consumed 60 to 90 minutes before activity. It provides both immediate and sustained support for nitric oxide function, while also promoting the mental clarity and calm confidence that enhance performance. Now, while each of these drinks is effective individually, the real power comes from combining them strategically. The most potent combination is what's called the triple nitric oxide booster, which combines beetroot, watermelon, and pomegranate in specific proportions. The formula is 8 ounces of beetroot juice, 6 ounces of fresh watermelon juice, and 4 ounces of pomegranate juice. This creates an 18-ounce drink that activates multiple nitric oxide pathways simultaneously, while providing protection against degradation. This combination should be consumed about 60 minutes before any activity where peak performance is desired. The effects are typically noticeable within 45 to 90 minutes and can last several hours. Men who use this consistently report a warm, steady feeling of increased vitality and blood flow throughout the body. Not jittery or artificial, but natural and confident. The beauty of this approach is that it works immediately but also improves over time. The first time someone uses the triple booster, they'll likely notice significant effects. But with regular use, baseline vascular health improves. The endothelium repairs itself. Nitric oxide production becomes more efficient. The body's natural systems start working better on their own. Beyond the drinks themselves, there are supporting practices that enhance effectiveness. Hydration matters enormously. Blood flow requires adequate blood volume, and blood volume depends on hydration. The recommendation is to drink 16 to 24 ounces of plain water 2 to 3 hours before any planned activity. This ensures the body has the fluid it needs to maximize circulation when the nitric oxide boosters take effect. Temperature matters too. Ice-cold drinks can temporarily constrict blood vessels, counteracting the very effect being sought. Room temperature or slightly cool drinks are ideal, especially in the hour before activity. Timing requires some experimentation. While 60 minutes is the general recommendation, individual physiology varies. Some men find their peak response at 45 minutes, others at 90 minutes. Paying attention to how the body responds and adjusting timing accordingly maximizes effectiveness. A practical daily routine might look like this. 8 ounces of pomegranate juice in the morning to support baseline vascular health. A beetroot shot or small watermelon smoothie in the afternoon to maintain nitric oxide levels. Tart cherry juice before bed for overnight repair. And the triple nitric oxide booster 60 minutes before any planned intimate activity. This isn't complicated. It doesn't require exotic ingredients or complex preparation. These are simple, natural drinks made from widely available foods. The investment is minimal compared to ongoing pharmaceutical costs. And the benefits extend far beyond sexual performance. Men who follow this protocol consistently report improvements in overall energy, mental clarity, exercise performance, recovery time, and general sense of vitality. They feel more alive in their bodies, more confident, more capable. These aren't just psychological effects. They're the natural result of improved circulation, delivering oxygen and nutrients more efficiently to every cell in the body. The question men often ask is whether this actually works as well as medications. The honest answer is that for many men, especially those whose issues are primarily related to reduced blood flow rather than other medical conditions, natural nitric oxide boosters can be equally effective, or more so. They work through the same basic mechanism, improving blood flow, but they do it by restoring natural function rather than forcing an artificial response. For men who do have underlying medical conditions or for whom circulation issues are severe, this natural approach can still be valuable as a complement to medical treatment. It's not an either-or situation. Improving vascular health through natural means benefits anyone, regardless of what other interventions they might be using. The safety profile of these natural drinks is excellent. They're foods, not drugs. The most common side effect of beetroot juice is that urine or stool may temporarily turn slightly pink or red, which is harmless. Some men experience mild digestive upset when first introducing these drinks, which usually resolves as the body adjusts. Anyone with kidney issues should consult their doctor before using beetroot juice regularly, as it's high in potassium. Otherwise, these drinks are safe for long-term daily use. In fact, daily use is when the most profound benefits emerge, as the body's vascular system repairs and strengthens over weeks and months. The psychological component of this approach shouldn't be underestimated. When men take active steps to improve their health, when they see tangible results from their efforts, confidence naturally increases. That confidence itself enhances performance. There's a positive feedback loop where improved physical function leads to improved mental state, which further enhances physical function. Contrast this with the psychological experience of depending on a pill. There's often anxiety around whether the medication will work, whether side effects will occur, whether the timing will be right. Natural approaches eliminate much of that anxiety because men are working with their bodies rather than overriding them. Now, here's what needs to happen to actually benefit from this information. First, men need to acquire the necessary ingredients this week. Pure beetroot juice, preferably organic and without added sugar. 100% pomegranate juice, again without added sugar or fillers. Fresh watermelon or pure watermelon juice. Tart cherry juice, preferably the concentrated version that can be diluted. Quality green tea. These should be purchased immediately, not put off until someday. The investment is modest, typically less than what would be spent on a single dose of prescription medication. Second, the triple nitric oxide booster should be prepared and consumed before the next planned intimate encounter. Follow the formula: 8 ounces beetroot, 6 ounces watermelon, 4 ounces pomegranate. Drink it 60 minutes before activity. Pay attention to how the body responds. Notice the timing. Notice the effects. Third, establish a daily routine that supports baseline vascular health. Morning pomegranate juice, afternoon beetroot or watermelon, evening tart cherry juice. This daily practice is what transforms short-term benefits into long-term restoration of function. Fourth, maintain consistency for at least 3 weeks. That's how long it takes for damaged blood vessel lining to begin significant repair. That's when men typically report that their baseline function has noticeably improved, that they're not just getting benefits when they use the boosters, but that their bodies are working better generally. Fifth, share this information with other men who need it. Too many men are struggling unnecessarily, accepting decline as inevitable, or depending on expensive medications when natural alternatives could work as well or better. This information needs to spread because it represents real hope and real solutions. The body retains remarkable capacity to heal and restore function when given what it needs. Blood vessels can repair, nitric oxide production can increase, circulation can improve dramatically, performance can return, confidence can be rebuilt. None of this requires accepting decline as inevitable. None of this requires permanent dependence on pharmaceuticals. What it requires is understanding what's actually happening at the physiological level and taking specific, targeted action to address it. The protocol outlined here represents decades of research condensed into practical, actionable steps. It's based on solid science about how nitric oxide works, how blood flow functions, and what natural compounds have proven effects on vascular health. For men over 50 who want to reclaim their vitality, their stamina, their confidence, and their performance, this is a clear path forward. Not a miracle cure, not a magic bullet, but a systematic approach to restoring the body's natural capacity to function at a high level. The work starts now. Get the ingredients, make the drinks, follow the protocol, be consistent, pay attention to results, and experience what's possible when blood flow is restored and the body is given what it actually needs to perform. Age doesn't have to mean decline. 50 doesn't have to mean settling for diminished function. 60 doesn't have to mean giving up on vitality. With the right understanding and the right natural support, men can maintain and even improve their performance well into their later decades. The triple nitric oxide booster is the cornerstone of this transformation. 8 ounces beetroot, 6 ounces watermelon, 4 ounces pomegranate, consumed 60 minutes before activity. That simple formula, combined with daily vascular support practices, can change everything. The choice is clear. Accept decline as inevitable, or take specific action to restore function. Depend on pharmaceuticals, or rebuild natural capacity. Settle for diminished confidence and performance, or reclaim vitality through systematic support of the body's own systems. The information is here. The protocol is clear. The results are achievable. What happens next depends entirely on whether men are willing to take action. Not someday. Not when it's convenient. Now, today, this week. Because vitality isn't something to postpone, confidence isn't something to delay, performance isn't something to accept as lost. The body is ready to respond. The question is whether men are ready to give it what it needs. The answer to that question determines everything.